amazing. I have the house to myself this morning, which is rare. And so I'm looking forward to a little time for us just to chat, because usually we're distracted by these little people that just end up in my house every morning. They're my children, and they're not here right now. They're at breakfast with Daddy. It's good. That's great stuff. So it gives us time to chat a little bit about a couple big news stories today that I want to mention to you. And I want to start off with something that is not the serious stuff. We'll get to the serious stuff in a moment. But we've been really looking at the history of the light bulb. It's interesting, Thomas Edison presented over the course of several years, often in December, his invention. You know, the incandescent light bulb was his invention, and then he had a light system that he presented, and it was actually his business partner that took his idea of the light bulb, and he used to, by the way, Thomas Edison used to string it around his office, the light bulb, as he was inventing his electric system of lighting. His business partner, who was a New Yorker, took the idea and decided to string colorful lights around his Christmas tree. And that is the first known use of Christmas tree lights in America. And supposedly the New Yorkers sort of shrugged at it, like, no, it's pretty. I mean, the tree was in the window, but you know, it didn't necessarily catch on in New York, which doesn't surprise me as I spent 13 years there. New Yorkers can be difficult to impress. You wonder what they like sometimes. But it ended up it caught on because of several local reporters. One in particular was really sort of interested in it, and he worked for a Midwest newspaper. So it started to make news outside of New York City. Eventually, President Cleveland, in the mid-1880s, 1890s, here we are, we're kind of moving through the years, uses it at the White House, this electric string of lights on the Christmas tree at the White House. It's thousands of dollars, by the way, so it's unaffordable for the average person. But as you know, that changes. And now we spend a lot of money on Christmas lights. But just think about it. If Thomas Edison didn't invent the light bulb and his business partner didn't decide to string it on a tree because too many trees were catching fire because of candles that people were using on them, you know, we might not have the Christmas decorations that you see everywhere. And I was even thinking about it today. I thought, you know, we see lights all the time during Christmas. It's really noticeable because of the colors, but just think about how many strings of light you see all year round now that it's something that we all use in decorating all the time. So it's just something to think about, and interesting to know that here Thomas Edison had this amazing invention, and his business partner was like, cool, I'm gonna put that on my Christmas tree. And that's how it all started. So here we are. Second thing I think you should know about today, of course, is this big news out of the White House regarding Syria. You know, everyone's talking about, the president is saying that troops are starting to withdraw from Syria, but no one's really being super specific as to how many troops we're talking about, when exactly this is happening, how is it happening. And what you should know is that there's roughly about 2,000 American troops in Syria, mainly serving as advisors in the fight against ISIS. But as you know, the civil war in Syria is extremely complicated. So who we've worked with and who we've supported throughout the last several years has been difficult to track almost at times. There are those that say, great, and this is the president's argument, it's too expensive. ISIS is effectively defeated in Syria. They've lost almost all their territory, the major cities that they held, they're no longer holding. Our fight in Syria against ISIS, as far as ground troops, is over. This is the president's argument. But you have others like the Republicans, like Senator Lindsey Graham, who say, this is not good. We know that Iran backs the Syrian government. We know that Russia has a stake in the Syrian government. And these are two countries that do not like America. And do we really want to withdraw our eyes and ears on the ground there and not have a presence in a part of the world where Iran can expand its influence? This is their argument. So there are interesting arguments on both sides. One of the things you should know is that the Department of Defense still estimates that there's about 14,000 ISIS fighters in Syria, but also admits that the number is constantly in flux. So, you know, there's a question about whether or not we could see a resurgence of an influence by ISIS, or what that could look like. You should also know that there's about 5,000 American troops in Iraq right now. Those troops are not going anywhere. And of course, we have the 15,000 troops that are still in Afghanistan. So we should watch this story for more specifics. Let's see exactly how these troops are withdrawing. What does that look like? And I think the bigger question going into 2019 for both Republicans and Democrats, and it's not just this administration, it was the Obama administration, and before that administration, it was the Bush administration. Before that, I mean, we could go back. What is the priority for America in the Middle East? What is our mission there? How clearly can we state it? This really matters because it either gives us an argument to stay in a place like Syria or not. And I think that's the question that Americans really need answer for, and one that I'm going to continue to ask, because I think overall, this is the big picture. When we have controversy about what we're doing, whether it's in Iraq or Syria or even in Afghanistan, you know, what is our strategy? What do we want? What is the American policy? So for the president right now, he said for months, all year, I mean, we could go back to spring. He said these troops are coming home very soon. And here he announced it yesterday. So he has said it, he has telegraphed it, and now this is what we believe is happening. So that's what you should know. In the meantime, last night, the Senate passed a spending bill. This is important because the spending bill would keep the government fully funded and open and operating for the next several weeks up until February. That bill now goes to the House of Representatives. The House of Representatives, there's been a couple of very conservative members who have said, we don't like this bill. This is our one opportunity because we still have the majority in the House to get border security funding that we want. The Senate bill keeps border security funding at current levels, which is around $1.3 billion. The Republicans in the House, some of them, not all of them, say this is what voters want us here for, this is what the president wants, we need more funding. So if they do not agree on a bill that then they can kick back to the Senate, we could see a partial government shutdown end of day tomorrow. So this is what we're going to be watching. The president, through his press secretary, has signaled somewhat, well, we said we wanted $5 billion for a border wall, but maybe we can get that money somewhere else. I don't know where they would find. I mean, if you know where to find $5 billion, tell me. But I mean, there are ways potentially that they could creatively find more funding for a border wall. One of the ways that we've seen in the past is that they've used the Army Corps of Engineers. All of our spending, though, has to be allocated through Congress. I mean, that's why we have Congress. The House of Representatives controls our money. They control how our money is being used. They also control how we're being taxed. So that's so that a president can't just say, well, I'm going to do whatever I want. But there are certain powers that the president can execute because of a threat for national security. So anyways, this is just something to kind of keep an eye on. The next 24 hours will be really interesting regardless. So it gives us something to watch. Not that you have time for that because I know you're really busy with other things because of the holiday season. But this is what's happening in Washington, D.C. Okay, guys? So have a great day. Think about those Christmas lights when you see them. I mean, thank goodness for electricity. What would we do? What would we do, right? Without it. It's amazing. And it's really, you know, again, it's something that happened in the 1880s. And thank goodness for Thomas Edison and his business partner. All right, guys, have a great day. I'll talk to you later.